Hello, welcome back to Up the Villa. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about reasons to be optimistic going into the new season. Joined by Ryan. How are you, mate?
Very well, mate. Very well. Good to be back on the channel.
Yeah, and to be fair, anyone that can see the background, it's Aussie and the Tifo, and this was the branding and the image, and one of the images, the new sort of branding going into the new season that I'd got planned, and I brought it forward early because of Ozzy's passing, and I think it's a nice way to remember him now as well. And I think it's a huge loss, and yeah, I was just really sad about the whole thing, really. So yeah, fitting tribute for Ozzy for the whole season is going to be part of our branding going into the new season. So hopefully you all like the look of that as well. And so Ryan, reasons to be optimistic. I can understand why it kind of does feel a little bit flat, a little bit more apprehension going into it. Are we sort of cautious looking into the new season? But there are massive reasons for us to be excited going into the new season. And I feel like the first area that we're going to talk about, and yes, we want new signings, but Unai Emery, the job that he has done at Aston Villa to bring European football back to Aston Villa, his first 2 full seasons, Champions League, Europa League, half a season, Conference League. Going into a new campaign, whether we're looking at other teams strengthening and us being able to maybe do business late on, closing the gap to the view that we might be looking at something and they have kind of moved away from us a little bit. Unai Emery's not going to be looking at that thinking season's over before it even starts, is he?
No chance. And this is the best tool that this football club has got, and that's Unai Emery. He's the jewel in the crown. And for me, it's his adaptability, that he's prepared to work with a certain set of players for a certain period of time to get through. You look back to last summer and it was absolute chaos for a bit, wasn't it, mate? It was just like players were going, PSR deals were getting done, swap deals were getting done. We didn't know whether it was coming and going. We didn't get our business done by the end of August, start of September last year, but Emery was prepared to go into that season with what he had. He was happy, and his adaptability makes it's key for us. Look at the way he come in and he got that group of players together. He had a philosophy and a formation, and it weren't a straight copy and paste from what he was doing at Villarreal. He has to tweak his main system to suit the players and the profile that he's got. You've seen other managers, mainly the Man United manager, that come in and couldn't get a tune going at all, and he's blaming that he hasn't got his own players, etc. It doesn't fit my system. Where Emery has got his system, he has got his philosophies, but he's also so adaptable to get results in football matches, and that's what he does. When he's building, progressing, he still finds ways to get results and keep us within the mix, and that's kind of what we done for the first half of last season, and then we made moves in the January market, and we were superb post that market, and it's kind of like the period of time that we're in, that we're having to do this. Ideally, would we like to be in this situation? Hell no. We'd like to have 2 or 3 more players through the door, and Emery would have a settled squad. But I think he understands the brief. I think he understands the challenge. I think he relishes the challenge, and it just proves how much of an elite coach he is and how lucky we are to have him in our football club.
Yeah, and I think looking at pre-season, we've played 3 games, and first 2 looked a little bit different with youth and formation-wise. Against Frankfurt, kind of back to normal-ish, but there was, I mentioned on my match reaction that, and you spoke to me when we did our show, that again, there was a narrow 2 in behind the striker. In the second half, there was a narrow 3. And at times, out of possession, we were in a 4-3-3 with sort of like 3 players and 3 players, and we were sort of like blocking, tactically we've seen that before, but again, it's reared its head a little bit. And, I think the big thing for Emery is that he finds solutions. And I think while he's got a philosophy and a way of working, it's about just fine tuning and getting in tune with it. And he spoke about this after the game against Frankfurt, and he put, this is the first match they played. They got 45 minutes. They're getting fit, good rhythm individually and collectively, tactically as well, to start doing things we want to do this season. So again, he's talking about what they've been doing on the training pitch, bringing that into a game situation. He also went on to say, we're happy here and we're working in our pre-season, building the team, trying to keep our structure, some of our structure we had last year tactically, and improving things, adapting as everything is changing so quickly in football. So again, he's kind of got these little words that he uses, hasn't he? He uses the word demanding. He uses that a lot, and he's got his little buzzwords that he uses. But I just think he'll be going into the season with Europe as the objective. I think when you hear him talking during the season, it's like Europe. He's used that phrase before. He's also used sort of like, ask me at game week 32. Like, he's used that before. So, I think Europe is the priority, and I think that sort of leads us on to, something that I don't know whether it's because we've had Champions League football that we look at the Europa now and we're going a bit like, Europa League. But it's still a big competition, Ryan. That it's something that we've got to be excited. It's not Conference League. It's good. And I think we're kind of forgetting that we're even in it.
And one of the favourites to win it, not forgetting that. But I kind of feel like it's probably the way that the season ended, that it come down to the last 90 minutes and we missed out on another season of Champions League on goal difference. And I think that's what sort of stifled the optimism and excitement for the competition. But I know I'll be up for it as soon as we start to see the draw and planning away days and who we're going to be playing at home, etc. And that's when the excitement will come back, because, like you say, it's the second biggest competition in Europe. Yes, we drunk the Champions League champagne last season, and we all got a taste for it, and we had some unforgettable nights. And I mean, they're going to be unforgettable. The Bayern games and the Paris game and stuff like that. We'll speak about them for years and years and years. And yes, it's a little bit of a come down, but we need to be humble enough to go into that competition. There's no way with that massive period of time that we weren't in the Champions League to have one season and then think that we're too good for the Europa. Nah, we're a lot more humble than that. And going back to Unai Emery in this competition as well. Look what he's done. He's pro. He's pro in this competition. So there's every reason to get excited. Look, the Thursday to Sunday grind is going to be tough again for the first 4 or 5 months. Don't get me wrong. And the squad will have to cope with that. But look, we've got experience. We've got recent experience of it with the Conference League. So we know what we're heading into. We know what it's all about. And to be fair, last time we done the Thursday to Sunday grind,
we were good.
Champions League, yeah. So
yeah,
and the momentum kept going. So Europa League, very much looking forward to it.
You said we had a taste. We had a taste of Europa League, didn't we, against PSG when we heard the anthem, mate?
We did, yeah.
So I don't know whether stars just aligned it and Villa had manifested Europa League.
I'll tell you what, though, look, it ain't a bad tune, though, to be fair.
No, it's good. I like it.
Yeah.
It is good, to be fair. It's quite Scandinavian, I think. It's really like Viking power. That's the vibe I get from it. And it's good, to be fair. So I mean, what early on then, what's your aim for Europa? Are you? It's hard to say like win it, because a lot's got to happen to do that. But would you say final? We've that the aim's got to be to start with to make the final, surely.
I think so. You know, we was quarter-finalists in the Champions League last season. You know, we were semi-finalists the season before that in the conference. So, yeah, I think you've got to be looking at the final, and like anything can happen in this competition. You know, look at all them nasty draws and horrible places we had to go to in the conference, and we're going to have to go rough it up again, like, you know. But yeah, I think as a Premier League club and you know, as a club that has actually won European trophies, then we need to be aiming as a minimum to reach that final. It's got to be a minimum, and you know, anything can happen in the final. But I think you've got to look to get there, and I'm sure Emery will be the same. In the same mindset that the final is achievable. And the thing with the Europa League is there's two rewards, isn't there? There's the reward of actually lifting silverware and getting that trophy, and there's the reward, as what Tottenham's found out, of getting back into the Champions League. So if it's not going too well in the league, and we're 6th and 7th or whatever, and we're still in that competition, then you've got two opportunities there to at the end of the season at the business end to push for Champions League, and you've got two goes at it. So that's one of the big bonuses and prizes for this competition.
He always talks about Premier League priority. You know, he always goes Premier League's the priority. Do you think that mindset slightly shifts this season? Because last season, I can't really remember what he was like, but I can't remember him saying like Champions League, we're going to we're going to win it. Do you know what I mean? I never felt like that. Do you actually feel like with Europa League we'll see a bit of a shift in him, that not that it's the priority, but it's on a par? Do you get what I'm trying to say?
Verbally, I don't think so at this stage of the season. I don't think he comes out of it at the start of the season. If we're progressing and we're into the knockouts, then maybe yes. But I don't think he'd put that pressure on the team or put that pressure out there in the fan base to start off with. I think he will be exactly the same. Objective is the Premier League, and the Premier League is where you build the bulk of your main form. So I think he will stick to that for now. Springtime it might be a little bit different, but he's very tactical. Emery's very tactical in his press conferences and his post-match conferences.
Do you know his pre-match though?
Little nuggets.
Do you not think pre-match he's a bit more like I don't know? I feel like he's a bit more bullish pre-match. Like when you're watching us pre-game, and he'll just come out with something that's quite like out there, and you're like, come on, I think he mentioned something about like Martinez. I think it was before one of the games, and he was like, he's not going. And then like after the game, he was like, you'll have to ask him then. Like, do you get what I mean? Like pre-game, I think he's a bit more, I don't know, stick his chest out a bit more.
Yeah, he's in game mode, isn't he? I think his game mode starts on that Friday press conference. That's it. He's the face of it. It's the opening of the game event, isn't it? That the press conference. So his game face is on, and he's bullish, and he wants the 3 points. And then after the game, then he'll talk a bit more loosely, especially if we've won, and he'll drop you little nuggets on how we tactically did this and that. And it never really hits me at the time, but when you sort of read back on his comments, you'll go, oh, look, he said that then. And he does say things tactically, and he'll drop things away. So it's always good to really give some attention to his comments post match.
Yeah, I just love how he works, and I'd love to be in that brain and just find out like what he's thinking and everything like that. And I mean Europa League. So he personally, for him, he's like a defending champion, because last time he was in it, he won it with Villarreal, didn't he? And then he went into a Champions League campaign with Villarreal And did he get them to the semis?
Semis, yeah.
And then the next season, that's when he joined Villa, wasn't it? Sort of
Yeah.
halfway through a season.
Yeah, halfway through. Yeah.
So last time he was in this competition, he won it. So, you know, he's pretty fresh, really. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's not like he did it like 10 years ago. Like,
And he's done it 4 times, you know what I mean?
yeah,
So,
that's what I mean.
he has got some serious previous, man. So
Yeah,
hopefully
he
it's
has.
the big 5, man. Hopefully it's the big 5 this season.
Definitely. Another aspect, and this, when I looked at it, I thought, no way, like, that's actually really impressive. Fortress Villa Park. How many games do you think we're unbeaten at Villa Park?
You did tell me before we come on air, so I'll guess at 21.
21, mate.
It's incredible.
21.
It's incredible.
21 times we've walked out of that stadium feeling all right. We've not been well. Some of them we might have been like Ipswich or whatever, but generally pretty strong. And we've won 8 of our last 9 Premier League games. So at home, that place is comfortable and strong. And my final little marker I put there is sort the away out. And that's an area that I think we'll be looking at this season and thinking must improve, because I think we started the season pretty well away from home, really. I mean, main bulk of our points came very early on. We beat West Ham, we beat Leicester, we beat Fulham, and then we just fell away a little bit. So Villa Park, stronghold for Villa.
Yeah, we've been absolutely spoilt rotten since Emery's come in at Villa Park, to be honest. Yeah. You speak to most Premier League fans, they'll probably say Villa Park's one of their favourite away days, you know, the tradition of the stadium, but also because you could probably rock up there and come away with a win. And like them years in the Championship, the amount of teams that rocked up there and took points away, and it was like a Wembley final for some of them away fans coming to Villa Park. And we've closed that door. That shop is now closed. Like if you get 3 points at Villa Park, you have done unreal, because it's such a fortress and such a place to go. And you know, that's just fantastic knowing you're rocking up to Villa Park and you're in with a shot of winning every game, no matter if it's Bayern or I don't know, West Ham or whoever. Like we're in a fixture every game, and it's unreal. And like you said, the away form. You know, at home we sort of like we loosen up and we stretch out and we attack teams, and away we just seem to clam up a bit at times. And it's switching that mentality to not clam up. And
do you think that is Emery though?
Do you think? I think it's a bit of both, Luke. I don't think Emery intentionally goes out and says, "Look, we've got to keep it." You know, be a bit more cautious. Maybe we grow into the game and pressure gets to us. We've seen how atmospheres have got to us over the years in some games and stuff like that. And yes, there will be tactical tweaks that Emery does to make us more compact and cautious and look to hit on the break. You know, the first season he had with us, we'd go away and we'd grind out a 1-0, and then we tried to go a bit more expansive. And then last season we were sort of stuck in the middle. We sort of lost our away identity, really. So I think if we can find that, it certainly helps, because you know, a lot of our league position, our 6th place finish last season was due to our home form more so than the away. So if you can get the away form supplementing the points tally, then you know you're going to go higher up the league.
Yeah, I think that's definitely something to work on. I just think it's probably more like the style away tactically. That's what I imagine he's sort of working on, especially in pre-season. So again, other points to be optimistic. I could write down a few, and I imagine we'll discuss a few, but the main one I've written down is Morgan Rogers, because last season he had his sort of like breakthrough season where pretty much everybody woke up to him, everybody talks about him. I watch different fan channels and they're like, I want Morgan Rogers this, Morgan Rogers that. And I think this season, what I would like to get from him is for him to be, and I don't mean this in us being a one-man team, but him being sort of like a difference maker. You know, sometimes when it could be quite tight, and he steps up and finishes. Like the goal he scored against Frankfurt, it is a goal that I'd like to see him score a lot this season. Nothing flash, cross comes in, left footed, just slots it in, no bother, easy goal, mopped it up, and it's like, boom, Rodgers scored, and just that level of composure and like a deadliness is the word I'm looking for, like to just be that guy, and I think it's important. I think that there's other players like Watkins as well, but I don't know. I do feel like Rodgers can elevate his game a bit more this season. I mean, how are you feeling about Rodgers' sort of like development going into this season?
Well, if the trajectory is anything like that last season, then we're going to have a right good time with Morgan Rodgers, because it was kind of like this time last summer where he'd flirted with the first team at the end of the season before. He'd bagged a couple of goals, and then pre-season he was in early and he was playing up top, and you just thought there's something about Rodgers. Rodgers is going to be a main man in this starting 11 this season, and he was unreal, absolutely unreal. His frame, his physique, his ball carrying with the frame that he's got, he's incredible. Like that game against Arsenal at home when everyone's just bouncing off him, and I think that was the moment. Then he took confidence to go, you know what, this is where I need to be playing football. This is my level. This is Morgan Rodgers, and that continued to national level, and he caught everybody's eye. Everyone's excited by him, and since Grealish left, there hasn't really been that player that bum off seat player. I mean, as soon as he gets on the ball, excitement grows. You're lifting the stadium, and he's that guy. And his challenge now is to do it all again, but he's going to be under the spotlight. He's going to be targeted. We're going to try and get him in positions on the pitch where he can damage people and hurt people, and opposition will be going, right, how do we stop Morgan Rodgers? How do we get him out of the game? And that's going to be his biggest challenge. I kind of feel like, using Leon Bailey's example, this time last summer, I was thinking, right, Bailey's biggest challenge now is to go and do what he did again. And he never done it last season. So for Rodgers, it's down to him. He's got to continue being that guy and continue to have that presence. And it's a World Cup year, so there's pressure on him there to perform. He wants to get in that squad. By no means is his place cemented. There's a lot of talent in his position. So again, he's got that in the back of his mind where he needs to keep these levels up and keep improving and being that guy. So yeah, I back him to do it, Luke. Fully back him to do it, because he's one exciting player. So looking forward to it.
I think we're on the same sort of lines there, because your point sort of merges into mine of like you're saying like teams are going to be like, trying to shut him down and stop him from driving forward and carrying the ball and stuff. And then, I know it's early days, but this is what I like to get from pre-season. Like, I like to look at sort of like patterns and what we're doing. And something that really excited me against Frankfurt was Donyell Marlon doing a lot of like what Rodgers does. So he was the one that was picking it up out wide, carrying it forward, driving, beating a player, cuts it back. There's Rodgers. And that's what I was saying sort of like before your point of that's where I feel like Rodgers can be different this year, because he can just be the finisher and Marlon can be the sort of like crafty creator on the right or wherever. And I think that's what I want to really get from Rodgers, really. And another player that, I mean, he gets a lot of stick, man. Watkins, like, he gets a lot of stick, and for the guy that's sort of our record Premier League goal scorer, and everybody sniffed around him. Arsenal, United, looks like we are gonna keep him. But again, like knowing that at worst, what are we gonna get? I mean, I thought he was okay last year. Like he was okay, weren't his best, but he's still got what 16 goals, 20 goal involvements. He was okay. Like he wasn't amazing, but those are the numbers he gets. So having a good season again, you know, it's going to be vitally important for Villa. And again, he's finish against Frankfurt. Ball comes in, little deft finish, nothing spectacular in the back of the net. You know, them type of goals. Let's just get more of those, really. So, I'm expecting big things from him. Marlon really impressing so far in pre-season. Kamara, Tielemans. Kamara looks very, very good. Onana's first 45, very good. But I want to get your thoughts on one player. And then we'll sort of just round off. Bogard. I didn't really sort of like praise him too much against Frankfurt. But then looking back today, I actually felt like, do you know what? He probably deserves a bit of praise, really, because he started the game at centre-back. Then he went into central midfield. Then he went into right back. And I actually thought, like, for an Emery system, knowing how Emery is sort of like, for just one position, how intense he is, this kid's playing free. Like, that's pretty decent. And hopefully he can, I think he's gonna feature Bogard. What are you saying?
Same. There's always been rumours that he's going out on loan. PSV, Ajax, all interested, but there's been nothing this summer because I believe that Villa's just shut it down. Not for sale. He's not going anywhere on loan. I believe, did he sign a new contract last year? I think he might have signed a new contract. We'll have to look that up. But for me, I think he's part of the first team plans. And you say, like, he didn't really praise him or he didn't do this. It's because he's so subtle and he's smooth. And he's just like, he causes no fuss, just gets on with his business and like produces. And like the start of last season, he come in, then he at right back. Was it Leicester away? Coming at right back. And he had an okay game, got found out a little bit and sort of went back behind the scenes then. But then he finished the season really strong, you know what I mean? He was playing centre-back alongside Kamara and looking composed. He'd come in and play midfield, which we think is his best position, but we just don't know. He's like the utility man, isn't he? Right back, he's looked really comfortable now at right back. So I feel like he's an excellent guy to have in the squad, a proper squad guy, a proper system guy. And I do believe that he's here for the season. I'd be surprised if he goes.
Yeah, he's just that player that, like you say, he doesn't do anything wrong, but everything he does is good. And it's like, it's not
done simply,
flashy, but it just shows that like sometimes a player can be really good without sort of, you know, some people will just look at goals and assists and go, well, you don't score, you don't assist, then you're no good. But what he actually does for the team, I guess, is really important, really. So I think it's going to be interesting the next two games in pre-season because, I mean, we had a bit of a mare against, was it Columbus Crew last year? That had that striker. Did he score an hat-trick? I don't know what he did.
I think we lost 3-0, didn't we?
Yeah, we had a bit of a mare, didn't we? And we was on the ropes in that pre-season as well. But I feel like these two, maybe they've been penciled in for like Villa to have a bit more possession and to be able to sort of use the ideas what Emery's been doing. And then, you know, Frankfurt, I mean, I think they're in the Champions League this season, so they're like a decent team. And then we've got sort of like Roma, who are the highest rated team in the Europa League. Again, it's going to be good to see what they're all about. And then we've got those two games, Marseille, Villarreal as well. So some good opposition that's going to be testing us, really. So
it'd be kind of interesting now to see. But Buendia had a good game the other day, didn't he? It's be interesting to see whether is there still life within this squad? Can improvements be made within the squad if we're not in a position to strengthen in the transfer market? Let's see what we've got. And like Buendia, he had a season out injured, then he sort of come back. He had a half a season out at Leverkusen. And now is there a place for him in this squad, especially with all these Europa League games? Bailey as well. Could there be some Bailey depth going on?
I get your thoughts then. What are you saying on what are your thoughts on Bailey then?
I don't know if Emery wants to use him. I did a big tactical thread on X about how we changed shape at the top, and it was sort of how we played against Frankfurt, where we went into that three, and we weren't really using like an out-and-out winger, where Marlon would go out on the right for a period, maybe out of possession, but when we was attacking, he was right up with Watkins. And I don't think Bailey's that guy to do that. And I think that's why he lost his place last season and he couldn't get back in, because we ditched the wingers. But the circumstances, if we can't afford to buy anyone, and the market at the minute, you look at the transfer market and it's young players that are going for money. There's not a lot of older players that have gone for big money or being shifted out of clubs at the minute. It might come later on in the market, but at the minute it's expensive young talent that everyone's buying up. So the likes of a Bailey and Buendia might be later on, and if we can't move them, can we reintroduce them and get something out of them? And like Ramsey, for example, a lot of people saying, yeah, he's only scored like one goal in last season, blah 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 blah, but he's done it previously. And I kind of feel like if Villa was to sign Jacob Ramsey, we'd be praising Emery and Monchi, going, right, there's a diamond in the rough there. Look, he didn't do it last season, but he showed signs. He had an injury. But before that, he was absolutely banging. He was in that half space, proper unique talent. And I feel like we can sign these type of players and get the best out of them. But what happens when they decline in our squad? But they've clearly still got some talent. Can we get the best out of them? So like we'll probably get a couple more answers in the next few games to see if these guys are back in, because Ramsey kind of looks like he's fitting the system at the minute. That left-hand side, if Ramsey goes, you definitely have to replace him for a similar profile on that left-hand side, because he looks quite fit into this system where he's attacking, but he's dropping into like make that midfield free at times and stuff like that, and he looked very, very comfortable there. So Yeah, I'm looking forward to the next couple.
I agree. I think Ramsey's looked better in pre-season. But the thing is with Bailey, I'm just a bit. I think it's all on Bailey. Like I think if Bailey started the season and scored a goal in the first game, I actually feel like he'd probably have a spark. But my worry is if he just plateaus into like what he was a bit like last year, we're going to have another season of what he was like last year.
23-24, he got that goal on the opening home game against Everton. He had a mare at Liverpool where he got subbed on, subbed off. Then he got another goal, and that was the spark, and that carried him for the whole season. And then, like you say, last season, he didn't really start the season off great, and he plateaued.
Because there is he's one of those players that gets a lot of criticism, and sometimes rightly so. So he's always going to get that. I was at Wembley when we lost to Palace, and Bailey was coming on, and the guy in front was literally like booing him, like booing, like bellowing boos at him, and I was just thinking, mate, like he's got no chance, has he? Do you know what I mean? Like he's getting booed before he even comes on, and
the frustrations, the inconsistencies, and it, because you know he can do it, and when he's doing it, you absolutely love it and you love him. But when it's not, it's like subpar, and it's like he's so off it. He's so off it, and I think that's what generates the frustration.
I think the thing is with someone like Bailey is that because he's a winger, and I think you know, as football goes, you'll always go like wingers are always really inconsistent. Most wingers are inconsistent. I look at like Doku for Man City. I mean, even he's inconsistent. He plays for like Man City, and I think because a winger has to try and beat his man, and if he loses it, he's got to do it again, and he's got to do it again. Once you lose and keep losing and keep losing, it's like you sort of, as a fan, you sort of lose faith, and I think sometimes it seeps into the player really, and I think that's what happened with Bailey last year. I think he'd get the ball 1v1, and he didn't think he was going to beat his player. You could tell, and then he would like lie down on the floor, and the opposition are up the other end of the pitch, and it's just not. So we've got to eradicate that, and you know, I think any player, like I'll always back them. You know, I'll always believe that the best is in them, and it's, you know, it's down to them to get it out of them. They've got to prove you wrong. Like, you know, I've said on here this pre-season about Ramsey, etc. And if he proves me wrong and has a brilliant season, then absolutely fair play to him. So I just want the best out of the players we got, really. So I think it's been a good conversation to have a little chat with you. I think while we're on these players, and we'll talk about one more, because I think we've missed one that I think Villa fans would want us to have a little bit of a chat about them. Matty Cash. What's your thoughts on Cash then? Sort of, we've not been linked with no right backs. So Cash looks like, if we go in attacking right back, he looks like the guy. So what are your thoughts on Cash?
Emery likes him because if Cash is available, Cash plays. We found that out last season. A lot of times we went, oh yeah, Konza will start right back in this one, and Carlos will play, and Pau will play, and Cash played. And if Cash was fit, he played. I just feel with Cash, I feel he's a real good pro, a real good Premier League player, steady Premier League player. And like when he joined with Watkins and Martinez, he helped us elevate to the next level, to that level where we're competing for Europe. Right now, I feel where we are that he's a good squad player. Mm-hmm. He'd be a real good squad player. I feel like you need the next level up now. And Cash might reach that, but I feel like he's had long enough now to prove that he can reach it, and he's just not getting past that next level. He got a lot of criticism at the end of last season for not driving forward, and you kind of feel like he's at times he was being told not to, and sort of there was times where we would slip back into that back three that we've seen against Rostock, and we've seen the season before last. And it's normally that Konza would do that if we slipped into that system, but Cash was doing it as well. And when he picked the ball up and he had a bit of space to drive, I feel like he was too involved in the system, and he never had that initiative to go, right, I'll go and have a little go, see if I can get us upfield. I think he lost that about him. And I just feel like he's reached a level that we want to exceed now. But yeah, an excellent squad player, I think.
I'd agree with that. I think one thing that highlighted for me against Frankfurt was he was in open space on the right hand side, and he just played this like square pass to one of their players, and like he could have whipped it in and played like a really good ball or drove forward.
That's what I can't work out, Luke. Is he being told to do that, or is it him? That's why I think that's why I can't quite make my mind upon him. Yeah,
I think he's being told, because if you were Unai Emery and that was happening time and time again, and you didn't like that within his game, you would tell him to stop doing it, wouldn't you?
So now, is it a trust thing? Are you saying, Matty, I want you to lay it inside and we'll build again?
Yeah.
Because he doesn't trust him to carry it forward and try and work some triangles and be progressive and ball carry and stuff like that. Does he want him just to sit there and do the simple things that kind of like Bogard does subtly and nicely.
Yeah.
Is he asking Cash to do that because he doesn't trust him to be more expansive? Or that's probably where we're at, isn't it?
Because there was another straight after that. He got it onto his left foot, played in this beautiful cross to the back post on his weaker foot. And it's like, mate, you just gave it away, put it on your left foot, put in a worldie. And it's like
Arsenal away.
Yeah.
Watkins equaliser.
Yeah,
Like,
mate, it was exactly the same as that.
Yeah.
So, but this is what I think when I was when I sort of mentioned what Emery said in his press conference, well, after the game, and he sort of said that tactically start doing the things that we want to see and do this year. Hopefully, these patterns, what we want to see, Emery's going to be able to fine tune and make the decisions probably clearer for the players, maybe. Hopefully, someone like Cash is able to get a more of a clearer mind, really. So, yeah, a good little 40-minute, mate. So, hopefully, everybody's enjoyed that. We'll be back. When will we be back? We've got a watch along on early hours of Thursday. So that'll be interesting. So, yeah, mate, been great chatting to you again. Everybody, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, comment your thoughts, and up the Villa.
Up the Villa.